Welcome to the Well-Rounded Grappler. I am your host, Coach Stanley. These episodes are dedicated to all my wrestlers, past, present, and future, as well as anyone that has helped me along the way. My hope is to give inspiration or motivation to anyone on their own grappling journey. On the Well-Rounded Grappler, we will be talking with various individuals from the grappling world, from coaches to competitors in wrestling, judo, jiu-jitsu, and sambo. I hope you enjoy. Thank you for listening. This is a very exciting episode of the Well-Rounded Grappler. I have Ryan Reeser on the show today. Ryan Reeser is an Olympic judo player from the United States. He was a coach at the Olympic Training Center for many years. I met Ryan at a judo camp this summer put on in Monroe, North Carolina, and let me tell you, Ryan is a great instructor, super nice dude, and it was awesome to meet him at the camp. I'm very thankful that Ryan agreed to do this interview. And without further ado, here we go. My interview with Ryan Reeser. Hey, Sensei Reeser. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to interview you today. To start up by telling us who you are and what you've done in the world of judo in your career.
Yes, definitely. My name is Ryan Reeser. Man, I've been in judo for, 40 years probably. 37 years. I started when I was 5, and then had plans to go train at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado, and took me a lot of great places. Traveled all over the world, got to represent my country in a lot of fantastic, phenomenal tournaments. Ended up making the Olympic Games in 2008. I was alternate for 2000 and 2004 Olympics as well. I made 2 World Championships teams. I also competed in a few Pan Am Games and championships, as well as multiple nationals and junior national titles.
That's a lot. Yeah, so going back to age 5, who got you interested in judo? Is it a family thing?
Yep, that's a great question. So I actually have an older brother and older sister. I was kind of the surprise kid, so I'm 5 years younger than those two. So I think my parents were just looking for something to kind of obviously keep us active and, but being that martial art, just point us in the right direction and burn off some of that crazy energy that we had. I don't think bullying was necessarily a thing at the time, but I'm sure that was on the forefront as well, just to make sure that we could protect ourselves if we needed to, and we knew when to fight and when not to fight.
So were your parents involved in judo?
My dad did it a little bit in the reserve, so he had a little bit of exposure, but we lucked out, man. We moved to Colorado from Texas when I was 5. It was actually in our YMCA. There was a judo program, so it kind of was a perfect fit. So it's so close.
Yeah, that's neat. It seems like back in the day that there was a lot more judo programs ran kind of through a YMCA type organization, and it's kind of taken a little bit of a different direction, at least from what I've seen, but it's kind of neat that was offered in communities, and YMCA is very cheap to go as a family, and the main goal is kind of like that family atmosphere, and you get a little bit of every age and a lot of opportunities for kids, keep them busy, keep them off the streets, and enjoy some kind of family environment.
I agree 100%. I'm blessed just because, who knows, they wouldn't have offered that at our local YMCA. Our lives might have gone a whole different direction. So I'm pretty blessed that everything's kind of, all the parts were put together for that reason,
Maybe been a dirt bike rider like your son.
That's right. I don't know. I like my feet on the ground.
Yeah. I don't know. In judo, your ankles seem to go towards the ceiling a lot, so I don't know if that statement's true, what you just said.
This is true. As long as we went in, 60-40, you're good, I think. So.
Yeah. Interesting story. Whenever you told me about your son was dirt bike racing, my wife and her family grew up racing amateur all over the United States. They would plan family vacations, and they would go to large races all over the United States and go there and race as a family. So my wife raced competitively for, 5 years, I think. I mean, you go over there and they got just stacks and stacks of plaques and trophies, and they're like, after a while, we just stopped taking them because, They lived in a very small house, so it's like, and they also live right next door to a racetrack, so that kind of helped.
Oh, I bet it did. That's a great sport as well, man. Reminds me of the judo community quite a bit. Everybody's just super accommodating and friendly and wants to help everybody else.
Right, I told her because she's like, "Oh, come down there and ride with us," and I'm like, "Okay, but the first person that rubs me or something, tries to knock me down, I'm done." She's like, "It's not going to happen like that. It's everybody's gonna." She's like, "Just stay on your line." That was her advice. Stay on your line. That's all she told me. So and it went fine because I used to ride dirt bikes in the cornfields and down the gravel roads and jump the ditches in the yard. Wasn't anything like racing, so I'm like, oh, I could probably do okay. No, it's completely different.
Oh, there's so many more elements, man, and I don't do it either. So much respect to your wife and my kid and you, everybody who's tried it.
So 5 years old, long time ago. You're 42, is that right?
Yep.
What's some of the very earliest memories that you can think of when it comes to being on the judo mat?
Oh man, those are actually my fondest memories because, like I said, it was kind of a family deal. Much like your wife and her family, we were lucky enough to be able to travel around the nation as a family and go and compete at a lot of these tournaments. And most of the time it was in a car because there's 5 of us in our family, so a little expensive to fly. So we got to know each other pretty well and have some great memories just making road trips and staying in hotels and as kids do, playing pools and eat buffets and have fun and make some memories. But that plus, as a young kid, I remember showing up to some of these national level tournaments and there's 90 kids in your division, so having a good time getting out there and then battling I must have had 10 full matches at some of these events as a 6-year-old, 8-year-old kid, which is kind of unheard of nowadays, unfortunately, for our nationals. But those are some of my fondest. That's where I met a lot of these guys that I was buddies with throughout the years, Justin Flores and, both the Flores brothers. And, we competed with a lot of those guys. So it was fun meeting kids from across the nation, too.
How did you go from being in a judo club in the YMCA at age 5 and then a couple of years later trying out national level tournaments? Who kind of pushed you or, how did you get interested in doing that instead of just doing it for fun or just doing it locally?
A couple of reasons. So we did, like I said, and I think I said it backwards earlier, but we actually moved to Texas when I was first grade. And my first club was at a YMCA in Colorado. But when I moved to Texas, asking around, trying to find a good club, my parents were fantastic supporters of all of us kids, especially in judo, but any other sport. So my dad was what find us the best place to train. And we landed at Kimura Judo Institute in Dallas. And that single-handedly, I think, shaped the future of where my career was going for judo, just because of his teaching style, his knowledge on and off the mat. He was such a great mentor to all of us kids. Again, judo stuff, but also just anything else we had, school, family, problems, that type of thing. He's such a great mentor for us. But it was very much a competitive atmosphere there as well. And once you start winning as a kid, you start having more fun, I think. Nobody wants to lose at whatever sport they're in. And you see what that competition, what doors it opens up. I think that was the draw for me. It was like, I love this sport. I want to learn more.
And that's awesome. What did you say your sensei's name was there?
Oh, it was Vince Tamura.
Tamura? Okay, so what was Sensei Tamura kind of pushing as far as what you do off the mat or what sort of, morale type things or things that he wanted you to focus on outside of the dojo?
What I liked about him was everybody was a little bit different. And that's why I loved his coaching style. It wasn't like, this is what I'm going to teach to everybody that comes out the door, whether it's judo or it's not judo. A lot of places have that, and that's great because they're still helping people. But he had a fantastic ability to just be able to relate it to each kid. I learned differently than my brother. I battle obstacles different than other people do, and he had a fantastic way of just seeing how you learn, knowing your personality, and how to get you to do things in a very kind manner. You almost wanted to do things for him instead of him going, hey man, this is how you do it. It was like, hey, try this. Very soft soul, but he connected with each and every person. And that's people still to this day just love that guy.
He's still alive?
He's not alive, unfortunately. I think maybe 5-6 years ago he passed away. I don't know if I've been choked or thrown in my head too many times, but my memory is gone. But
Sure.
unfortunately, he did pass away.
Yeah. As you're going through judo as a kid, did you decide to do any other sports, like for middle school or for high school?
I did. Even though we were focused on judo as a family because we all loved it, my parents were very open to try whatever you want, man. Whatever makes you guys happy. We just want you to find your thing that you have a passion for. And what I think was instilled in us at a young age was just whatever you're going to do it 100%. My other sport, if I didn't do judo, would have been probably soccer. Yeah, so, man, we were a very active family. We tried a lot of different sports, but judo was always the one.
So what about wrestling? Did you ever get involved in wrestling?
Yeah, you know what? I'm glad you asked because that was a huge sport that I did too that I totally didn't even think about. I did, so around the 8th, 9th grade, because my brother wrestled in high school as well, so he's 5 years older. So just getting the exposure of watching him go to his high school wrestling meets and that type of stuff, obviously close tied to judo. And also we had a lot of pro wrestlers who used to come through at Tomorrow Judo Institute, and he would train them on different judo techniques and how to fall and all that fun stuff too. So, but yeah, I wrestled 8th through senior year for wrestling, and I loved it.
This podcast or a set of interviews, whatever you want to call it, I'm just a coach at a high school, so this is just kind of just for the kids, but I'm trying to do these interviews to both give some inspiration and motivation to any of the students that I work with, past, present, future.
Yeah.
And then obviously anybody else. And I know I'm going to send the info over to the judo club. Really, since that camp, I trained a lot of jiu-jitsu this summer and wrestling. Then the season kind of started, and I've been working on that. I haven't done much judo specifically, but grappling-wise, I've done quite a bit over the summer and since the beginning of the school year. But I'm putting in a lot of work to try to get these kids to buy in and to see the vision that I want out of them and, the goals that we're trying to reach. And I'm trying to provide them with as much free opportunity that I can to where they can do stuff and succeed. I got a couple kids that are martial artists too. No judo players specifically, but the jiu-jitsu gym that I train, it's a Pedro Sauer affiliate. I don't know if you've heard it. Yeah, it's a Pedro Sauer affiliate, and one of my wrestlers' parents own the gym. I just started kind of training there and just kept an open mind. It's kind of interesting because even though I'm a black belt in judo, I am definitely not even close to being any color belt in jiu-jitsu.
Oh, I feel you.
It's completely different. It's so different. I could hold my own on my feet. Normally I could take people down. Every once in a while I'll get taken down, but I'm also 40, but when we get to the ground, man, it's different. It's different. So it's kind of like reminds me back of the first days in the judo, in the dojo, to where I was just getting thrown and thrown and thrown and thrown.
Right.
I never threw anybody for, the first year, and then all of a sudden I started to get it. So it's kind of humbling again, but.
Well, thank you for what you're doing, though. I mean, there's just not enough of that going around, myself included, and everybody's got to make a living, but also I think it's hugely important to give back. I gave you a small list of people that have helped me, but in reality, there's tons and tons and tons of people who have reached out and helped and given me their time, and not just me, a lot of kids, but I see it kind of dwindling down nowadays, so it's awesome to hear somebody that, hey man, spending my time on helping these kids reach their full potential, because sometimes that's all it takes, right? Is somebody to believe in them, that has that skill set, that knows how to coach them, right, and open their minds up. And so I appreciate you, man.
It's a lot of trial and error, trust me. And I'm far from, reaching my potential. I probably will never reach it, because I'm a competitor.
Yeah.
But we're doing a lot of different stuff this year. I've been pushing since day one that we need to start believing in the program. We need to start having a vision together of, the name of the school, Sun Valley. I have a vision that there's a coach sitting in the wrestling room and Sun Valley's coming over there to wrestle them the next day, and his speech to his wrestlers are, okay, now Sun Valley's coming tomorrow. and we better be ready because they're going to be ready, and they've been working their butts off and be prepared for a very physical mat. And, you know, they aren't a team that gives up very easily, and, you know, they're a team of fighters. So that's kind of the vision that I've been pushing. And then I do things like I have philosophy taped all over the walls, like character over talent, and strive to inspire others and show up, improve every day, be a beast on the mat, gentleman off the mat kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we've been doing some mental stuff. We've been doing some cold water exposure stuff. So been having them hop in the cold shower after a workout, and some of them are like, hey, when are we going to do an actual ice bath? I'm like, okay, all right, you guys want to take the next step? Okay, we can definitely do that. So I'm trying to get that in there, and then we listen to motivational speeches and stuff while we're jumping rope and things like that. I'm just trying to work on the mental game, trying to get them focused. We just had a fundraiser yesterday, sold barbecue. That was fun.
That's huge, man. Well, like I said, keep it up, because that's what I like about what you were talking about before, man. Wrestling background, jiu-jitsu background, judo background, just having a different look at probably wrestling than straight wrestling, which I'm sure a lot of places are doing nowadays with all of these sports are growing. But mental is huge. I coached for a while at the training center while I was still an athlete, and then obviously after as well. And I thought Eddie, my coach, I was like, man, I'll take a kid with heart and mental game, both the talent any day.
Oh, yeah.
It's just so hard to teach that. It's so hard for the people to tap into that nowadays. Well, not nowadays, probably any time, but I can teach that technique, but the hardest part is that mental. So I'm glad you're tapping into that piece. That's huge.
So because a lot of the people that are going to listen to this are part of the wrestling team or wrestlers, can you go into how judo helped you out in your high school wrestling career? And, you know, I don't know, you know, you made it to the Olympics in judo, so I didn't hear anything about Ryan Reisher, the Olympic wrestler, but, you know, did you have any other, you know, accomplishments in wrestling?
I did, you know, I started in 8th grade, which obviously, for us was split from the high school. So I didn't have the opportunity. I wanted to, you think you're 10 feet tall and bulletproof. So I was like, yeah, man, I want to go try out for the high school team, but they wouldn't let us at that point. I was that crushed, by the way, because they're grown men. But
right.
That was my mentality. Yeah, man, I'm good enough. Let's go do it. I know some judo. So I started a feeder program in Texas, which are fantastic that have those. And we had a lot of great coaches. Learned a ton, but they were able to implement different style of wrestling because of my judo background. I was not the guy doing low singles, bent over. I was always pretty much almost straight with my stance. Threw a lot of people off. I like to be close. So hand control was huge for me. You know, hey, if you're gonna have your stance straight up and down, you better have your hands on to control the opponent and get close to be able to do that judo. So I was lucky to have coaches who would, instead of making me change my style, adapt my style to fit wrestling, if that makes sense.
No, it 100% does. 100% does.
Which I loved it, because they weren't like, you got to do it like this. They were like, okay, this is cool. It's different. Try this. Try this. So there was never a negative thing. It was always, okay, cool. This guy's going to bring something different. Here's how we tweak it to fit our knowledge included in his knowledge. And I did well. And I loved it. Had a great time. Ended up getting, 4th, 3rd, and 2nd at state in Texas, which versus Iowa and some of the other countries, some of the other states is not as tough. But there was a lot of great competitors there. Pretty deep. A lot of tough kids, and for not being a wrestler and only wrestling for a couple of years, it was a pretty good accomplishment.
With how popular football is in Texas, and more programs realize that, hey, if I want a good football team, I need to start getting some of those kids in the wrestling room. So, you know, with how strong football is there's got to be a lot of kids that are wrestling, you know, just to improve the football teams and things like that. So when did you start realizing that you were starting to separate from people in your skill level with judo?
I was very talented. I picked judo up pretty quick as a kid, and I don't know if it was the balance or the body awareness or being able to use other people's momentum and center of gravity against them, but I kind of picked it up pretty easy, and I had fun at it. But I think what really kind of set me apart was the work ethic. Not only did I love it, but it was more just I enjoyed winning, and I enjoyed the sport, and I enjoyed learning the sport, especially with the teaching styles that I was able to come across. So I think that was the biggest piece. But I would say, man, probably 10, 11 years old, we went to the Olympic Training Center for the judo camp, and that was back in the day when it was pretty tough at the training center. So, and ever since then, I met Eddie, I watched my brother and my sister both paired up on the mats and having a good time, and I saw all these guys that I looked up to, and I knew, and I think from that point it was kind of like, okay, look, this is a real deal. I'm decently good at this sport. I love it. Like I said, it's an adventure. It helps me go, opens up doors for other opportunities, and I want to start working towards that. So I think probably towards that 10 to 12 years old was when I really started hitting it hard with training. Hey, summer break, all the other kids are going to Disney World or whatever we're going to do, but we would do 2 days. So we'd go to Vince Tamura's in Dallas, 10 a.m. until 3 p.m., work out. Not obviously the whole time, but we'd have a little summer camp, go home, eat dinner, come back for the night practice, and that was our summer up until the 3 junior nationals. So it was consistently a grind, but it was fun. It sucked, but it was fun.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you gotta, you've seen that picture before probably of the person getting the medal on the stand, and then underneath it you have like a giant iceberg with all the time and commitment, workouts, hours upon hours. People just don't realize that they see the last minute part of the glory, but the amount of time that was spent before that is incredible, and that's what most people don't realize. And I talk to kids all the time about this stuff because I have kids that say, hey, I want to be in the NBA, or I want to be in the NFL, or I want to be in the MLB. Sorry, I'm not a baseball guy, but I'm like, well, the first question that I ask them is, how much work are you putting in outside of practice? Yep. And a lot of the time they kind of look at me funny, and they're like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, what are you doing? Like outside of practice, how are your grades? What camps are you going to? What other sports do you play? How often do you lift weights? I mean, all that stuff. And they look at me like I'm crazy, and I'm like, you just don't understand what it takes. The practice at the high school for 2 hours, that's a very small part of it. You got to put in the work.
Right. Specific work, right, for what you're trying to do. And that's, once I started coaching, me and my brother always did a great job of, hey, tonight at practice, here's what we're going to do. Obviously not just showing up. Anybody can show up and Eddie can run you through a practice, but there's 50 kids there, right? So it's hard for him to target something for you to work on. So something we came up with through the years was we would have a plan. Hey, what are you working on tonight? I'm working on foot sweeps or counters or whatever it is. That's all you can do tonight. And we would have a goal each night. And then, the winner, hey, man, I'll buy you a beer or ice cream or whatever it is, right? Or here's a slap on the back, but have an intent. When I'm coming to practice, here's what I'm working on. Yes, we're going to do cardio. We're going to do anything else that they point out. But when it comes time to fight, to randori, to live roll, here's what I'm working on. Because if I do my favorite throw every night, then that's all I'm going to be good at, right? But I'm going to put myself in bad positions, right? I'm going to work on these specific pieces. And I think that's where we started making those level ups for sure.
Any of your coaches, when you were in the 10, 12 age, did they ever say, Ryan, you got some potential here, man. You're pretty special. You have a capability of going far in this sport.
I definitely had that, which I know a lot of people don't. Not because their ability's not there, but maybe because the resources around them. But I was lucky enough to have a bunch of people. My biggest cheerleader was my dad. Still is to this day. If you came and ran into him out of nowhere, he'd probably tell you a story about me or my brother or sister.
Yeah.
Which is awesome, But he was the biggest one. Believe in yourself. Hey, man, let's work. Let's get it done. You guys can do whatever you want to do. But also Vince Tamura. And then the great part about judo in Texas, even at that time, going to another gym sometimes is frowned upon. People don't want to lose numbers. They have to keep their gyms open. And
sure.
They didn't care about that there. Well, maybe to some degree they did, or just for some people, but we went to Fort Worth for Friday night fight nights with Tommy Dyer, and we would go to another club to work on different things and to get different bodies. I think that atmosphere helped as well because it was exposure to so many different teaching styles, people. It just breeds success for sure. So I'm a huge proponent. And I'm doing jiu-jitsu now, and there's some of that where, oh, well, you can't go train over there if you're this guy's affiliate. And I'm like, well, I'm against that. Let's just say that because I think it's just, it makes you so much better.
What rank are you in jiu-jitsu?
I'm a one-stripe purple, but, man, I've never really done it long enough in one period to where I should have that. Actually, Seth Daniels, the guy who puts on the Fight to Win, he gave me my purple belt, but I don't think I'm a purple belt.
So when did the thought start running across your head that you want to be in the Olympics?
It definitely was around that 10 to 12 range when I went to that camp, but even after that, shortly after that, I think probably 14, 15, I was able to travel to Sweden for my first international tournament, which was, and Terry Takabari was our coach, and man, we had a blast. Great time, met great people. Fantastic tournament. Everything kind of lined up, made weight perfect, ate right, ended up winning the tournament. And I think that was my first, because you never know until you're, international weather. And I think that was the first time where I was like, okay, man, I can hang, I fought guys from Russia and guys from obviously Finland and Sweden and some different places. And after that, it was planted in my head. It's something that I want to, pursue.
How did you do that first tournament?
I won.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And it was tough. Obviously, man, anytime you can go to tournaments over in Europe, that's what they do over there, for judo. But yeah, everything came together and I ended up winning the tournament, and I think I got outstanding player for the tournament. It was a fantastic event.
So you kind of touched on some of your training. Maybe we can get more into those teenage years. What was your training looking like as far as how many times a day or how many times a week you were practicing judo or involved in judo? Were you running? Were you weightlifting? What did your regiment look like? Maybe when you were in your high school days, maybe going into your early 20s, whenever you were starting to really peak.
No, that's great. High school days was mixed judo and wrestling because we were kind of mixing up both at the time. Wrestling would be every day, and I think it's maybe for an hour, but we would mix it up with different things, whether it's cardio or weightlifting or live rounds or whatever it is, or maybe it's a meet Tuesdays and Saturdays. So I was always in that piece as well, which I think helped me with my weight cut since you had to make weight a couple times a week. It kind of kept me on track for my judo side of things. And then judo was, you could have gone 5 days a week if you wanted to. And oftentimes we did, but we kind of left it open for wrestling for different events or, hey, we're going to tournaments or that type of thing. But yeah, oftentimes it would be weightlifting or cardio 5 days a week and then judo at night, about usually 3 to 4 days a week, and then Saturday. And that was through high school. And then obviously kind of fluctuated. But then at the training center, the great part about that program and what it taught me was, because there's 40 kids on the team there, and it's impossible for them to zone in on every single kid.
Yeah.
With exactly what they need for either weightlifting or cardio or judo, that type of thing. But it really taught me to be independent and take my career into my own hands. Because again, if you just kind of go with the flow, you don't make a team, then you have a lot of people to blame. Take the reins and say, look, I know what I got to weigh. Because mine was always cardio, right? My cardio was always pretty weak. So I knew that was somewhere I had to strengthen. And I went and I figured it out. I went and worked with the cardio coaches. I worked with Eddie. I saw a lot of kids who didn't do that and then ended up not getting the results that they wanted, but it was never their fault. Always, I didn't get the attention I deserved. Instead of having that mistake mindset, I'm going to take the reins and figure it out and get it done.
What sort of cardio did you start doing to help you?
Once I really started getting better at my cardio, I actually seeked out a personal trainer outside of the Olympic Training Center. Nothing against them, but I was strong and I was fit and I was all that stuff, but I just wasn't to the level I wanted to be. So I actually found a guy who should be one of the trainers for the Diamondback, the baseball team, and he knew nothing about judo, which I loved because he dove into it. He was like, oh, this is different. And he would come to practice and he would throw a gi on. I mean, he would kind of learn everything we're looking to do. But a lot of it was the kind of circuit training, especially with the treadmills, man. He had this one, I think it's called a Woodward or Woodway treadmill. And it'll go as fast as you want and at whatever angle you want. But he really incorporated that with weight training at the same time. So we would do sprints, jump off, do judo, and then do some pulls, do some pull-ups. So he very much mimicked it to a judo mat so that I could maximize. Because, I mean, you always hear this, man, and I don't know about wrestling, but judo, we're like, there's no other judo cardio besides judo.
Well, yeah, of course.
It's so hard to mimic. He did a great job of trying to mimic that. It helped me at my time.
Awesome. What sort of things were you doing for your mindset?
So at Training Center, the great part is they have tons of different resources, and they don't make you do it. It's whether you take the initiative to go do it. And one of them was that sports psychology. And we tried a lot of different things, but visualization was huge for us. Number one, hey, visualize yourself in this situation. You know, what obstacles are you seeing in your head? How do you overcome it? What can you do better? And then also, kind of like you said, hey, I have all these positive motivational things on the walls. That was a big thing that they said too. Hey, put this on your mirror. We're not going to tell you what to put. You know what motivates you, right? And make it something that's attainable and measurable, but put it up. Let's see it every day. And then we even tried like hypnotization. Hey man, I mean, I'm like, I'll try anything, you know, if it helps.
Right.
And I was never one of those guys to not do something because somebody might laugh. Because if you reach the reward, then, you know, they can laugh on it. You know, which would conclude as fighting in a tournament. You know, no matter big or small, we'd have the OTC Olympic Training Center Classic, and we would fight. And that was just as much of a mental thing as anything else, because the more you do something, the more normal it is for you, right? And I'm not nervous anymore. It's like breathing. I don't have to think about breathing. I breathe every day, and I walk every day, and my feet move the same, right? So the more I fight, the more I compete, the easier it's going to be for me mentally, you know, because what a lot of these kids don't know, man, I mean, once you get to a certain level, that pressure builds too, because, hey, you're number one.
Yeah.
You know, if you lose this, you don't make the Olympic team. If you lose this, you may not get funding. It turns into so much else and other things than your sport and judo. And that's a big piece. And that's something they really helped with as well, because especially in the games, I mean, you go there and it's a circus. There's so many distractions, and there's whoop-de-doos, and there's interviews, and there's free clothes and people, and, you know, that a lot of people get sucked into that and forget why they're there. And then focus on what you're here to do. And then go have a good time if you want.
After you get done with doing your job while you're there, right? After you've done your 100%. Competition, then it's time to celebrate.
Yep. Well, and just realizing that you may not get time to celebrate. You know, I mean, that's
true.
This is the path that and it's hard as a kid. It's easier as you get older, but you're going to have to sacrifice. Nobody comes out as a world champion. Nobody's born as a world champion, right? They have to work. You know, they have to sacrifice. They have to bleed. They have to sweat. They have to cry probably, and joy and pain, you know, but you have anything worthwhile, you're going to have to work for it. And who works harder is the guy who wins. That's the hardest thing, especially with this kind of new generation. I don't mean that in a bad way. It's instant, right? Everybody wants
instant gratification.
It is. Well, everything, right? Your phone's here. You get instant results. Like for us, man, it was a little different because, you know, I had to read a map. I was like, oh, Google. You know, it was like, how am I going to get there? And no fault of theirs, but they learn differently. There's different motivators, and that's the hard part, man. You got to grind. You get to enjoy the rewards.
Take us through kind of what you were going through in your mind before some of these big competitions. It doesn't have to be the Olympics. It can just be some national level events, or whenever you know that you're going to be in a tough tournament overseas or anything like that. What sort of things were you kind of telling yourself in your head, you know, in preparation for these matches?
In order to preface that, I need to kind of preface preparation for that point, right? Because if I did everything correctly, including weight cutting, including scouting who's going to be at these, if it's the nationals, I knew it was going to be me and Jimmy Pedro and Orlando Fuentes. I knew the usual suspects who were going to be there, and I had put my work in months ahead of time, knowing that, hey, this guy's a lefty, here's what he does, this guy does this, here's my weakness to this guy's stuff, and prepping myself and putting myself in bad situations and killing myself in the gym so that when I get to those tournaments, I don't have to worry about it, because at that point it's too late. If I get there and I haven't done the work, then I have a lot to stress about, and it's out of my control. Because the good part about judo is anybody can win on any day. Whether you're a world champion, I've seen so many world championships where the number one seed loses to the last seeded guy, and that's the exciting part about the sport. But most of the time, the 80-20 rule, right? 80%, the guys who work their butts off end up on the podium. If I did my job right, then how I'd like to enter tournaments was just stress-free, easygoing, because I'm not the guy that listens to heavy metal before. I like to joke around. I like to, because it's fun, right? I've done my hard part. Now let's go have fun. I don't need to get zoned in because I've already done the work, and now I get to enjoy this moment.
I really like that, because I was the exact opposite. So,
well, I didn't plan it that way, but because I had a few times where Eddie would come in and he'd slap me in the head and let's go, and I was like, bro, chill, like it's not, and that was our thing. From then on, we would tell jokes in the back and we'd laugh a little bit, and then moments before, you put on your serious face, you tie your belt, and that's it. It's go time, and then we'll have fun after.
Absolutely. So you competed 73, right?
73, yep.
73. That's what I competed in my 20s. What were you walking around at?
Younger in my career, I didn't handle that very well, to be honest with you. So I was probably about 180, dropping down to 160. And actually, probably my whole life I was 180, dropping down to 160. But early in my career, it would be a much later weight cut, which made my performance worse at the tournaments. Finally I was starting to understand that, hey man, I got to start on this months before, right? And eat the right stuff and fuel your body with. And once I did that, I was still natural body weight was about 180, but I would be about 170-ish until about a week and a half out, and I would start cutting. Seldom, very rare would I do a 10-pound weight cut the day before, but it happened. It happened at certain points.
2007 going into 2008, kind of roll around. Yep. Take us through that year leading up to the Olympics.
Exciting year. I mean, exciting but super stressful. It definitely became to a point where you got to qualify this division. You have to get enough points. You have to put your hands on the guys that you think you're going to fight at the games, or at least are going to be the number one guys going into it, so that you can give yourself a real shot when you make it, if you make it. And then the biggest piece, I think, was funding, and the USLC did a great job of that, but most of it landed on our shoulders. And, I hustled. I was working full time and going to school, and my parents helped, friends helped me, and all that good stuff. But a lot of pressures. Joy for the sport is still there, but there's a lot of other things surrounding it. Hey, that's what you signed up for, right? The Olympic Games isn't supposed to be like the local tournament. And the biggest piece, I think, was staying healthy, knowing when to turn it on and when to train and not overtrain, and be smart about those things, because there's a lot of different people giving you different advice. But when you blow your knee, those people seem to disappear. So
right.
It's like, so that's the big piece. I mean, there's just a lot to juggle, but it was fun, man. It was a ton of work, but we traveled all over. And I think the hardest part was, not the hardest part, but the most interesting, I think, was my parents. Obviously, my parents wanted to come watch the Olympic Games, but they had to buy their tickets 6 months in advance, and I hadn't made the team yet. So my wife, my brother, my sister, my mom and dad were already going to China. So I was either going with them, or I was going to be home, dog sitting. So that was in the back of my head. And then trials. Trials is always a different element. You make the team, but you still have to compete on that day. So I have to Number one, I have to get ready, and it's so late in the year. Our trials was, and, you have to have that mindset to have a plan to taper off and what you have to do there as well. But the trials was a big one.
How far out from the Beijing Olympics did you know that you had qualified for the team?
I think it was like 2 months, maybe 3 months.
Okay.
Pretty late. I think ours was in June, and then we competed in August.
After you qualified, after you knew you were going, did the people on the team that year, Rousey and Murray and Stevens and people like that, did you guys get to train together for a long period of time, or did you just kind of come together like toward, like right before you guys were ready to leave?
Unfortunately, we didn't, and it wasn't anybody's, fault, but it was kind of everybody was so spread out that we didn't get really to meet up until processing, which was, I don't know, maybe a week and a half before we left for the games.
Mm-hmm.
We all flew to California and stayed in some college that was out there, and we trained together and met up there. But other than that, man, it was kind of on your own training still, which was difficult too, because everybody who didn't make the team, it was hard to get them to come to practice to help you train.
Sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's an interesting dynamic of wrestling and judo. It's like it's an individual sport, but you very much need a team to help you.
Well, you have to have a good practice partner in order to be successful at any sort of grappling. You have to have a good practice partner, and you got to find somebody that can push you, because I think somebody told me, if you are the best judoka in the dojo, then maybe, and you're still competing, it might be time to go find a new place or find new partners to train with, because you have to continuously be pushed, and you got to find somebody that's hungry like you and will go and will keep coming and things like that. So good practice partners are extremely important. Yeah.
And positive, right? I mean, I had a lot of, and granted, this isn't only in the dojo, but even training, a lot of guys that you'd end up at the same tournaments with that were just miserable, and you're like, I gotta get away from this guy, so that positive outlook, and they're not going to hurt you. They're going to help you train. They're going to, you're going to push each other hard. Yeah, that's huge.
Kind of walk us through, like, after you get on the plane to go to Beijing, kind of take us through what happened after you landed. Tell us how that went, like just getting there and being part of the Olympic Village.
That was amazing. And actually, after the games, but one of our senior guys on the team, Brian Olson, had made 4 games. This was his 4th Olympic game.
Wow.
And as we're leaving, I'm like, hey man, I've only been to this one. I was an alternate in Greece, but we didn't get to do the whole experience, and I didn't get to go to Sydney. He basically said, if you made one team, this is the one to make, because they just did such a great job. Not only China, but the Olympic Committee always just does a fantastic job of supporting their athletes and making sure that you're taken care of, and that your only worry, if they do that right, is competing. From the time we got onto the plane, I mean, United was our Olympic sponsor, so they kind of gave us special treatment on the plane. They were, hey, we have this, this team and this team and this team, and it was mostly athletes, which was pretty cool too. And then landed, and the Olympic Committee it was really mindless for us as far as processes go, right? We just got to enjoy the experience. I didn't have to worry about who was picking us up or where we were going, which is usually different, because for judo, I make my own plane reservations. I land in Russia, and I got to figure out a way to get to this specific hotel in this foreign country. Very different experience there. It was all taken care of, and it was fantastic. They had buses, they had transportation, and we did stay at the village, which was a unique experience. All of the USA is in 2 buildings, and so you get to really feel that camaraderie with your countrymen, but you also get to see. We're right next door to Brazil, and we can hear the music going, and you can see how they kind of do things, and then eating in the cafeteria, which they had nutritious food, and they had food you're probably not supposed to eat as an athlete, all that fun stuff. But they had everything you could want. It was there for you, all free. Yeah, which was really cool. They had a bunch of different stuff going on. In the village. The village is pretty big, but it's secure. You have to go through security going in, so you feel really safe there. But yeah, just a lot. I mean, everybody has their journey, right, that they're getting ready for. So you see people working out all over the place, doing different things, cutting weight or running or doing different things, but that's just everybody. You can feel that energy of how different people interact and get ready for the game. So that was pretty fun. And we went and did everything. We did everything they offered, the video games, and we got massages, and we lived it up. We were only going to be there once. The next part was opening ceremony, which is always tough, depending what day you compete, is whether you want to go sit for opening ceremonies, because we've all seen it. It's phenomenal. I mean, they do such a great job, but it's a 5-hour ordeal.
Yeah.
And for us, our competition started the next day. So, yeah, I know the lightweights, the men and the women didn't go. Which sucks for them because they're missing a pretty cool part of the experience. But again, I am the prize, right? And they're blocking that piece out. But we got to go. It was awesome. It was really cool. They staged all of U.S. together in the little gymnasium. So we got to meet all the basketball players. We got to meet all our, friends that we've seen or trained with in Colorado or Chula Vista or the different training centers. So it was pretty fun, man. Everybody's taking pictures, talking and having a good time. What I do remember though is they had us, our Ralph Malone was our outfitter. Opening. We were looking great, man, but it was a full suit. And it was probably, we got off the plane, and I remember he said it was smoggy and all that, but we got off the plane and it was 80 degrees, sun shining, so by the time it was opening ceremony time, it was probably 100 degrees. It was awesome. It was quite the experience. And talking to Eddie, who was my coach, he was actually an Olympic coach as well, he was like, hey, look, want to get on TV? That's of course I do, man. So he was like, okay, you either walk out first, which you're not going to walk out first because you're not the flag bearer, or you walk out last. I'm like, okay. So we waited. We were about the last ones to walk out, and fortunately for us, Kobe and all the basketball players had the same idea. So we got to walk out with the basketball team, and my family got to see me on TV and all that fun stuff, and it was pretty cool, man.
That would be such a great experience. So I do have one serious question for you.
Okay.
How many times have you went around after Ronda Rousey won the UFC title where you're like, I've known her?
All the time, man. All the time. I usually joke around, and because everybody knows that my groundwork, my standing was my bread and butter, so I would tell people, I taught her that. I taught her that easy, man.
Nice.
Everybody knows I'm full of it, so they laugh.
Obviously, that wasn't a serious question, but I like to set it up like that, like hey, look at this hand left hook, But one thing that I did want to talk about, and I kind of thought about this today. Yeah. So the last Olympics, 2021, the team that I was absolutely blown away by, because I kind of like that in your face, rough beach up type style, was Georgia. That Georgian team, man, after somebody got done facing them, man, they just came off and they just looked like they got in a street fight. Have you had many experience facing any Georgians in judo? And how is that? Have they always been tough like that?
They have, and that's what I love about judo, man. Everybody's styles are different, and even within the country, you'll have different athletes that have different influences with how their judo is, which is it makes it very much like a chess match. Even though we're in combat, it's a combat sport, right? It's very much a chess match, and that's the great part about it. But that style is hell to fight. It's just hard because from the moment they say Hajime and they start the match, they're pushing and they're in your face, and you're going to be in a fight. Add that on top of great technique. And it's a very lethal combination because, they're going to make you pay.
And strong.
Their goal is to get, it is. It's, when somebody's headbutting you and, pushing you, you're thinking about that instead of thinking about your judo.
Sure.
That's their goal, right? So I've definitely fought a handful of Jordans over the years, and some I did okay with and some beat the crap out of me. But yeah, it's definitely a style that's tough to fight. It's very much like, so my Achilles heel is Mongolia. That's who I lost to at the Olympics. That's how I lost to the World Championship. But same style, right? They're grinders. They're in your face, and they're very explosive players.
Who did you say?
The Mongolians.
Mongolians, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I hate fighting those guys. I love them to death because I respect their judo and I love them, but holy moly, that style's a handful. You don't get a rest, period. Yeah, at any point they can throw you.
So let's go to the opposite end then. Let's talk about any time you've ever faced a Japanese competitor, because man, their style is so different from anybody else. Every once in a while you'll see a little bit of a grinder, but man, it's just flawless. And obviously it's physical because it's grappling, but I mean, it's just timing and movement and everything just looks so smooth and nice. Like, what's the difference if you get a hold of a Japanese competitor? How does that feel in comparison to a hard-nosed Mongolian or a Georgian?
I'd much rather fight a Japanese player, and because it's stand up. It's and I don't want to say. Well, I was gonna say it's judo, and not take it away from Georgian style at all, because they get, our number one Georgian now is, our number one player in 73 now is a Georgian, right? Great judo player, super technical. But I think it just, that style allows for more stand-up throws, beautiful, real judo. The only hard part is when you fight a guy like that, your technique's going to be there, because just traveling and training in Japan over the years, it's what they do, right? It's hours and hours and hours of Uchikones and sit-ins and throws and drills. Their technical aspect is just on point.
Sure.
But I'd much rather fight. And as a matter of fact, that's how I learned. Vince Tamura was very traditional Japanese style. And my judo only kind of changed once I started going overseas, because you stand up and do that with a Georgian player, he's going to counter you. He's going to, he's going to take away the angles. He's going to do different things. And that's when my judo started to evolve to a mixture, right? Stand up when you can, bend over when you have to, take every opportunity, put pressure on, type of deal.
Well, one exception that comes to my mind as far as a hard-nosed judo player, but is from Japan, is Ono. That dude is a phenom. Yeah. And you see him. I've watched some training videos of him. He's doing like Olympic lifts with 350 pounds. He's shredded, and he is just in your face. Not the traditional Japanese style.
Yep.
He's a beast.
He is, and I think they've all had to, because over the years, right? They've obviously had their successes, but there's been years when they've been goose-egged at World Championships and Olympics and that type of thing, because styles change. And I think that's forced them to change as well, because a lot of the guys, I know that from the first time I went to Japan to the last time over those 20 years, I was getting caught with fireman's carries at the end, and I'm like, what the heck? You guys aren't supposed to do that. What are you doing?
That's my move.
That's right. They're moving with Uchimata or something. So, yeah, very much evolving, with the sport, which is great. That's what it's all about. But yeah, I would love to fight. Oh no, just to feel,
He's your weight class.
He was. Yeah. Actually, he probably. Yeah, I'm a fat guy now, but I was gonna say he's probably still walking around pretty hefty, man. He's a beast.
Yeah, he looks like he cuts. See, I don't know, man. It's like, I see some of these wrestlers, some judo players, just various people that, I see a kid that weighs like 145. And he looks like he weighs about 175, he's ripped and all that stuff. Like, off season, I would be around 170. During judo season, or when I was competing, I'd be about 165, and I would just be kind of lean, like I wasn't jacked at all. And it's crazy. Like, how some of these kids can just look just so impressive and only weigh so much weight, and they look like they weigh so much more. I was never like that. Like, I was just lean when I got down. I wasn't very muscular. I was strong, but I didn't look very physically intimidating,
Right.
So what have you been up to since the Olympics, or when did you retire from competing?
So '08 was the Olympics that I made. I know we kind of talked about it before, where that last year was such a grind that the joy for the sport was still there, but it wasn't as you had other things pressing
Sure.
on your mind. So as soon as I got off the mat at the Olympics, I was done. I was like, man, I'm done. I'm ready to, my now wife was actually there, so I was like, hey, I'm done.
Sure.
But I was just ready. And then 4 years came around, London, and I was like, man, I should have gone for another game, which is a super important thing. I only bring that up because I always tell my kids, because I started coaching after '08 with Eddie at the training center, and now we have kids who are 18 that are like, hey, I think I'm going to go, go to school, I'm going to do this or that. And I was like, don't quit. You'll know, man, this is such an opportunity. It brings so much to your life for business, for all that stuff as well, overcoming obstacles and teamwork and all this stuff. But you can make money for the rest of your life, and then then you have to be an adult, right? You have to chase the dollar to pay your bills. I'm like, this is the most carefree time you're going to have because yes, you're an broke athlete, but guess what, man? You're going to Europe, you're going to Cuba, you're meeting people from all over the world, you're getting to fight for your country. Don't give up one thing to chase something that you'll never have, right? That was my biggest thing. I tell my kids, do this until you're absolutely done, and then find something you're passionate about. And for me, that was coaching. I wanted to give back, so I worked with Eddie in the training center team for a few years, and that was really until I had my own kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, man. And I think the hard part is we don't have the same mindset as, and maybe financial backing, I don't know, but as like France and Japan, because their Olympians continue to coach and make a good living doing so.
Sure.
And I think that's the hard part is we don't have that draw. We don't offer that to our,
right.
I mean, even in Colorado, that's where the Olympic Training Center is. There were so many Olympic athletes that were still there that wouldn't be at practice. And I'm like, Eddie, how do we get my brother and Jason Rivera and Hillary Wolf and all these people over Cliff Sonatas? I mean, we had so much talent, but they had to work, they have their kids, so that's the hard part, man. But yeah, I coached for a while until I had my kids, and then I quit coaching at the Olympic Training Center and focused on my family and just going from career to career to find something I had a passion in that would still allow me to spend time with my family. I ended up moving to Oklahoma about 3 months ago. So that's my most current adventure.
Oh, really? So since the camp, you've moved?
I moved, yep.
Okay. We were looking into Oklahoma because I'm from Illinois. My wife and I are both from Illinois, and there's a list of reasons why we left, but we wanted to change, wanted to start. But one of the places that we looked at was Oklahoma. It was probably in our top 3. We were looking around Tulsa. That's where we were. That's where we were looking, right around there, and it was pretty. It was pretty high on the list. The only thing that we were worried about was, in our case, because I'm a teacher and my wife's in healthcare, the cost of living was quite a bit lower than Illinois. But the pay wouldn't have worked out right. We wouldn't. Right. It's almost like we would have lost money going there, and it's not bad whenever, let's say, you don't want to go on a vacation or anything. You just want to kind of stick around home. Like, it's not a big deal, but you're going to travel places to where, the gas is going to be $6 a gallon, and the dinner's going to be, the fast food will be $15 or just whatever, the price of the hotel is this and that. So it didn't work out for us, and we moved to North Carolina, and we really like it here. There's a decent amount of judo here. I don't know as far as if there's any like well-known competitors or any top-ranked guys that come from here, but I know that there's a decent-sized judo community here. And I mean, you saw with Dana and the people from the judo club. I'm actually thinking, I mean, the closer I get, the more I'm pretty positive that I'm going to come out of retirement this year and do some judo and also do some jiu-jitsu, because now I can be in the 40 and over division. So, hey, so I'll be the young dude, right? So
there you go.
I'm thinking about, the I'm already getting in the mindset of I'm going to do that this year, because last time I competed was in my real early 30s. So it's been almost 10 years since I've competed. And like, I think I was the type that didn't train the right way, and overtrained probably at times and didn't take care of my joints and wasn't healthy about it. And, whatever. I heard my arm pop. I don't care. It's fine. I'll just keep going, and then I finally tore an MCL, and then I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be training like this, because like I was just
It's hard, man.
stubborn, but I started training this summer a lot different, and it was more, I had the mindset, and again, I'm, not the smartest dude in the world, but if I wasn't like absolutely dominating, then I wasn't having a good time. And, I never wanted to get thrown. I never wanted to get submitted. So I don't care what I have to do to knock. And this is in practice, I never want to get thrown. So I'd counter as hard as I can, get banged up. But when I came back and started training this summer, I'm just like, I don't care. And, it's like, I want to start enjoying the sport again and just go in there and have fun and learn and just, you're going to get thrown, you're going to get submitted. Just go in there and just like, if you're going to get thrown, just take the throw and just enjoy it instead of getting all crazy, So I think that's kind of the mindset that I'm going to go into. I'm just going to try to enjoy it and just have some fun and put another year of competition under my belt and see how it goes,
I think you're going to do great, man. That's important, that mindset. It's hard for a lot of people to get to that point. It's not the game. Here you go. Let's just go. Why am I here? Why did I start this sport? Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I should do the same. I miss competing.
Well, that's right, Ryan. You are like 200, so yeah, go ahead because I'm not, I'm smaller than you. So yeah, you get back into it. I'll be down. I think I can make 170 still, so I'll be at 170.
Oh, I'll never see 170 again. Oh man, that's awesome.
How did martial arts change your life?
That's a great question. It's super hard to even describe who I would be if I didn't have martial arts because ever since I was 5, it's been something that's been shaping my life on and off the mat. Obviously, it's a sport, but what I love about judo is there's the other journey as well, right? The philosophies behind judo that it teaches you, that helps you be a better person, helps you be a better friend, student, brother, son, now employee, that type of thing. So I think just put such a positive spin on my mentality as a person. It help me be kinder to other people to help them grow their journey. It's obstacles, right? The obstacles are thrown your way every day in judo helps you kind of have a better idea of how to combat those. Man, it's changed my life. I have no idea where I would have been, but I know with it, it's made such a better impact on my life than where I would be without it.
Yeah, 100%. And I always thought that it was very interesting because I started in real late 90s. So, it's been 25 years, since I've been doing judo. And it's amazing how some of the toughest people that you'll ever meet in martial arts seems like are always the nicest, the humblest ones that will go out of their way to help you. But in the back of your mind, that they're just like straight up killers, really. They're just like the toughest people ever. But man, I've met so many nice people, warm, hospitable, especially in judo. Absolutely hospitable and welcoming and nice and calm natured, and just, yeah, it's different.
Huge though, right? And I think that's that's one of the most important lessons you can learn is there's always somebody bigger and tougher and meaner, and so be nice to everybody because you never know so much that it does for everybody, but it did for my life. But I think the biggest thing is gave me that independence as a person. Yeah, and I think that's more well, obviously through judo, but through traveling. You know, like I said, I was 14 years old, being dropped off in Sweden. Okay, go.
Right. Yeah.
Make it to the tournament and make weight. And, you know, there's a lot of times I didn't have a coach.
Really?
These international events. Yeah, I mean, I remember I went to a tournament in Finland, 3 feet of snow. I mean, it was just nasty. And I broke my foot in the semifinal. I had to figure out a way to get back to my hotel, to get back to the airport, to get up. I mean, but the cool part, like you said, the camaraderie, man, the Canadian coach actually stepped in and coached me for those matches and helped me get back to the venues and different things like that. So, but it just teaches you that independence. And after that, nowadays, a lot of people depend on their parents for so much.
Sure.
Or everybody. And
again, you like you said, you were relying on a map and a corded phone, and you know, like
that's it. That's man.
It's different. It's different.
Figure it out, right?
I was an exchange student in Finland in college. I really liked it over there, and I did train a little bit of judo over there, but not much. I did judo in college, SIU Carbondale, a competitor there for 2 years. And I kind of, when I went over to Finland, it was just more to enjoy it and have fun. So, I mean, I did it a little bit. I think I went to a couple practices, but I wanted to travel. And Finland is a really cool place. Oh, yeah. It was, besides probably, you know, getting married or getting sober, it was probably like the coolest thing I've ever done in my life. I mean, met so many cool people that I still talk to, traveled all over. I enjoyed the culture and things like that. What advice can you give to anybody that's going through their grappling journey? Let's start out with somebody that is just starting out. So it could be judo, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, just anything. What's an advice you can give to somebody that's just starting?
The cheesiest advice I have is have fun. But it's super important. You know, you're starting this journey for a reason, whether it's, hey, maybe you want to make a games, or I just want to be in shape, I want to defend myself, whatever it is, right? I've found through life that the best way to stick to something new is to enjoy it, right? To find a way to enjoy it, and whatever that may be. That's the biggest piece. Number 2, show up. You know, make sure the more you get in there, especially a combat sports, man, it's so unnatural for a lot of people. The more you're there, the more normal it's going to be. And then it becomes more of a muscle memory type of deal instead of something you actually have to think about, especially if you're talking self-defense. You don't want to have to think, oh, I need to do this or this. You want to be able to just react and protect your family or do whatever you have to do, right? So that's a huge part. Show up consistently, you know, get those reps in. Don't be afraid to compete. You know, you can't be afraid to lose, because in this whole scheme of things, me being an Olympian, I've lost to so many white belts and yellow belts in my life. know? But I was there, right? And I didn't care. I was working because, you know, you have a goal. I was working on one thing, and nobody to this day has gone, hey, you're an Olympian. Remember that time you lost to that white belt? Right? They don't. You just got to have the end point in mind.
Unless it is that white belt, and then they're going to make sure that you're
true.
You.
which is part of enjoying it, right? Because then you only get a good laugh. I think those are the biggest pieces, man. Just and have a goal. Don't just show up to show up. You know, once you get better at it, start having goals for your practice. It does make it more interesting for you, but it also kind of helps you reach your goals. And make sure and this kind of gets into Olympic pizza thing, but make sure your goals are measurable and attainable. Because even when I was a coach at the training center after I was done competing, we gave the kids a little project, and I just said, tell me what you want to do. What's your goal? And every one of them said, I want to go to the Olympics. Which is such a broad shot as a goal. And instead of going, hey, I want to win nationals, or I want to win the local tournament, and then I want to win nationals, and I want to make a Pan Am team, and you know, those are small, attainable goals, and they help keep you driven instead of just going, my goal is to, you know, go to ADCC for grappling, or, you know, whatever it is. Because it's easy to get discouraged.
So that kind of led me into, and I want to do 3 different people here. The one was the person just getting into it, And then after this, then we'll be wrapping up and be done.
Yeah.
So, and you kind of led into it. The second person is the one that is starting to get pretty good, is starting to realize they want to get to the next level. We can relate it to some of the wrestlers that I have, because some of them do have a goal of getting to state or winning a medal at state. They want to finish a high school career doing really good at wrestling, or they want to wrestle in college. So what's some advice for the people that do want to get to that next step, to get to that next level? What advice would you like to give to them?
So the answer to that is kind of in your question, right? You just said, what do I need to do to get to the next level? You need to do next level things, right? Which are, what are your processes? What are you going to do different from your beginner entry level guy to your second level? What's your routine going to look like as far as eating, as far as nutrition, as far as strength and conditioning? You need to start putting those pieces together, or researching those pieces. Because especially in high school, a lot of those, and granted, I went to high school in 98, so it might have changed since then, but there wasn't a lot of education on that or resources around how to eat, how to lift. It was kind of just what your buddy was doing, or maybe you had a coach who was, doing something. Start doing the research, start building the processes, and then implement and stick to it, or change as needed. Give yourself the best shot to reach whatever goal you want.
Awesome. And then the last person would be someone like me that is either done with competing, and kind of maybe are getting back into the coaching realm or something like that. I mean, sometimes I find difficulty in continuing sometimes. What can you tell to someone like me that's kind of, has a life, has a family, but still wants to get involved?
Cole, I struggle with that myself, buddy. So I know exactly what you're asking, because it's not priority, right? It's priority. It's what we love. But I know for me, I had to tie it to something that I would do. So, because I hate going to the gym as far as, lifting weights and that type of stuff. But for me, it's rolling. Whether it's jiu-jitsu, judo, wrestling, I don't really care. It's just, that's how I get my stress out, and that's super important for us. And I don't realize that, because that's just what we've done for all these years, right? So that's how you manage your stress level until you quit and you have a family and a job, whatever it is, and then all of a sudden you're like, why am I so stressed out? And my wife actually told me on several occasions, get your butt back to judo, you're a jerk. And I'm like, okay, that's what it is. It's important to have that outlet of whatever it is. It could be judo. For us, it's judo. For me, it's judo. But if it's playing the trombone or, whatever it is, it's super important that you have that outlet. And then what I will tell you, what got me excited again was Seth Daniels. Have you heard of that Fight to Win? And so basically, Seth used to be Seth Brigman out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. His dad was a international referee for a long time, but I grew up fighting Seth. And then he is now is in the jiu-jitsu world as well. And he's been throwing these jiu-jitsu events where they travel from city to city and they pit, people against each other, and they pay him money. I mean, it's such a cool production, music and lights, and you're up on a stage and all that stuff. Well, he started doing that for judo as well. And it was so cool for me because it was so far out of the traditional competition realm that we're in. Because for us, we go to a judo tournament, it's quiet, it's calm, for the most part.
Yeah.
And this was like, hey, what do you want for your walkout music? And I'm like, what? And I get walkout music? And you go out and there's lights playing and people screaming and walkout music, and you're pumped, and there's no rules as far as, because judo's changed a lot. And it's fun. It's like pure judo, and you get to go and just have a great time and do it. And man, that put the life back into my judo career. I fought 3 times, and I was supposed to fight a 4th before COVID. But just finding those different events, right, that's going to get you back into it and make you train. And if you sign up, you have to, because nobody wants to get embarrassed,
right?
So if I put my name in the hat, shoot, I better get back in shape and get in the gym.
I understand, because this summer, because I teach, and usually I do a 12-month contract, so teaching is salary, so I usually get paid over the summer, even though I'm
Yep.
not, working. But this summer, I started doing a little driver's ed because I've done that before. I think it was just, we did some off-season stuff for wrestling, and one of my wrestlers, his parents own a gym. I think I said that earlier. That his parents own a jiu-jitsu gym, and I just said, you know what, man, I want to get back and I want to train, and I kind of want to be a student again.
Yep.
Because a lot of the time, whenever I go and train judo, if I'm not being asked to teach, it's very tiny little things that I'm picking up. And I wanted to be a student again, so I started doing jiu-jitsu, and this summer was probably one of the least stressful summers that I've had in a while. And I was training like 4 or 5 days a week, and it was fun. And I'm getting choked out a lot and arm barred a lot and this and that. But I was also taking people down a lot. And then once they kind of found out that I was a judo black belt, they're like, oh, I need you to start showing me some stuff. And it was just fun. But I get what you're saying about the stress thing. And after a wrestling practice, cause I get out there and I roll with the kids. Just about every day. And I feel great afterwards. So I get what you're saying about the stress. If I don't do something for exercise, if I don't grapple, then I start to feel the stress building up. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's big time.
Okay. I know I said an hour and it's been an hour and a half, so I apologize about that, but I really enjoyed our conversation, dude. And I really appreciate you taking the time and,
anytime, man. That's just like I said, I've on more than one occasion throughout the years, I've been helped by all kinds of people. So anything I can ever do, I'm more than happy to, especially if it involves, youth, getting them excited and helping them succeed, man. That's huge.
Yeah, I know, I'm starting to get the wrestlers on board to listening to some of these. The first interview that I did was with the first state champion from the school that I coach for, Sun Valley. And he coaches at another school in the county. So, but he was really excited to do it. And I'm doing an alumni night, a wrestling alumni night for our opening match this Wednesday, which is kind of cool. And
that's cool.
And it's kind of getting a little bit of a buzz. I've had some emails and some calls from people saying, hey, I'm definitely coming. I wrestled in the 90s there. I wrestled in the 80s there. And after doing some research, I found the original coach from 1972, and he's still alive. And I went and met him, and I mean, he's 80 something. His name is Jerry Cross, and he drove himself there to have breakfast with me, and he was still sharp on things. And the best part of the conversation that we had was we started talking about the program and what I'm doing, and he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm trying to build it, and I'm trying to get more people out, and I'm trying to get the kids to buy in. And his face goes completely serious, and he said, now you listen to me. I don't want to hear any of that try stuff anymore. I want to hear you're going to do it. And so he started coaching me, and I'm like, yes, sir. Yes. It was great. And he's in his 80s, and he's still there. I think that competitive edge, that coaching, it just never goes away. So I'll remember that for the rest of my life. And he's supposed to come to our match on Wednesday. And if he does, I'm going to honor him that night. So I'm pretty excited. So.
Well, that's legit. And that's great for the kids too, right? Because you can say whatever you want, right? And they're either going to buy in or they're not. But the more people and the different types of people that are there to support them and to say the same thing, right? It sticks. That's such a good idea to have on the inline night.
Okay. Well, Ryan, thank you again so much. This is awesome. Super nice dude. I really appreciate you taking the time. You're an Olympian. This is probably won't have many other high class or high level athletes like you on here, because like I said, it's just kind of a local thing. But I'm excited about that camp already for next year. Colton Brown's coming, I saw.
Oh, is that who it is? I hadn't heard that. I love Colton, man.
I'm really excited. I mean, honestly, as a competitor or as a coach, I had the most fun and learned the most from that camp than any other camp that I've ever been to. I really loved it. And when you had, what was there, 25 red and white striped belts and above.
Oh, yep.
I mean,
Yep.
I've never been to something that had that many high-ranking judo people. You know, it was so much fun, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm definitely going back next year, even though you know, I was unbelievably sore and stuff from, because I mean, I don't know if there's been, I can't even remember the last time I've done 8 hours of straight judo in one day, you know, and being 40, it was a little rough, and I came back and I was like a little beat up the next day, but you know, it was great, and I'm glad that I did it, and I'm definitely coming back next year. So
Yeah, I'm surprised there's not many, should be more competitive kids there. It just blows my mind. That's part of why U.S. is struggling. You have the Korean, and I'm like John, and I'm like, how are more people not here for this? This is crazy.
right.
And they bring in some high level talent, so I'm trying to get exposure and call some coaches that I've been with and like, just get your kids there.
Sure.
Yes, your competition may be there, but that's okay. Get them there. They're going to learn so much.
I hear you.
So we'll see.
Well, Ryan, thank you for your time. I hope you have a wonderful night. Probably be a couple weeks before I get this posted, but I'll send you the link. It's on Spotify. The name of the show is Well-Rounded Grappler.
Oh, sweet. Okay. Yeah.
So I'll send you the link for that. Well, thank you so much, Ryan. My wife has to leave here, and she works third shift, so she's got to leave in a little bit. So I'll let you get back to your family. Try not to get shocked hanging up that fan, and and we'll go from there.
All right, brother. I appreciate you, man.
All right.
Have a good
Thanks.
weekend.
Have a good day, man. Yep. Bye-bye.